Welcome to the second part of the Sage Subtrait analysis. If you have not watched the first one, I would highly recommend it as it does give background info on the Sages. Well, I suppose we should go on to our next 6 Sage enemies. Second Old Hyena is a starter alien and Sage enemy. He's a variant of H-Naw and appears in Subchapter 13, Secluded Cavi Island. For once, he doesn't appear right after the last enemy. Who would have thunk? For stats, he has 850,000 health and 12,022 damage with 6,011 DPS, with all the Star Alien treasures. For his abilities, he has an Omni Strike from negative 300 to 390, which his regular range stands at 350. He has a Counter Surge for some reason and Curse Immunity, but the star of the show is his insane Warp ability. This Warp activates guaranteed and takes your units back by 1,200, which definitely could be worse, but it lasts for a whopping 16.67 seconds. That's longer than Crystal Cat's slow on traitless enemies. If any unit gets hit and has no warp immunity, it will be essentially useless for pretty much the entire battle. Plus, if a unit has less than 390 range, it'll essentially become useless unless it has Omni Strike and you can use peons to assist its hits. Overall, he's slightly more of a support enemy than crowd control, as he has a decent damage stat. He can be taken down easily by warp immune units though, but overall I think I like this enemy. Oh boy, my favorite Sage enemy, Evil Brawlo. Tire Brawlo is a Sage and Aku enemy, dropping the floating type from the original Brawlo. He's introduced in the next subchapter, unlike before, being the 14th, Resort de la Costa, and in a low amount of 45 of him. He has a bit of a low health at 60,000 and 12,000 damage with 2,627 DPS. But for Brawlo 1 in stats, he has 77 speed and 15 knockbacks, which means a knockback every 4,000 damage. He does, however, have abilities unlike the regular Brawlo. These abilities are a guaranteed knockback and a guaranteed level 3 mini-wave. The knockback can be good and bad as it gives him more survivability, but can also help rushers rebound. The mini-wave also helps to deliver a bit of extra chip damage to your units, along with his regular damage. The mini-wave can stack up though, as there are 45 as an introduction stage. If I did this math correctly, the mini-wave essentially adds the damage of 9 extra Brawlos across all 45, assuming that each Dire Brawlo lands an attack once. He is pretty easily killable by Surge though, but overall, a good and dangerous rusher. Some people might just not like Brawlo, which I do understand. Old Church is a zombie and Sage variant of Arost, introduced in Subchapter 15 Restricted Area. Back to the old one after the other pattern, I guess. He has a high HP of 1.6 million with 23,000 damage, that leads to a really high 40,588 damage per second. Thankfully, he does have a bit of a short range at 300, and thankfully no Omni Strike for once. Time for abilities. He does have a basic revive with it being infinite, and he revives at 50% HP after 6 seconds. The worst ability though is his second. On top is already really high DPS and pushing power. He gets Toxic, but not just any Toxic, 20% chance Toxic. The fact that his Toxic is chance means that you can get bad luck and just be screwed over. Plus, I don't really think there's not that many Toxic immune units. But honestly, there's really not much to talk about here, other than Old Trich being annoying. Dr. Nova is a Relic and Sage enemy who is introduced in version 13.7, I think, and appears in the Invasion stage on Revival of Origin after completing 4-star Uncanny Legends. She has a large HP of 5 million and a funny damage of 99,999, resulting in 13,698 DPS. But wait, let's get to her abilities. She has a long distance attack from 250 to 650, and with that, a basic standing range of 350. She also has a guaranteed stealth for 6.67 seconds and a guaranteed curse for 33.3 seconds. But her main ability is her Explosion. Explosion acts like this. Where the main attack hit, a little explosion will appear. This deals all of the original damage from the attack across 150 range. The second explosion, which will appear on either side of the first explosion, has 70% of the base attack's damage, and in this case, will do 69,999 damage, and takes up 100 range on both sides. The third explosion will be on the outer side of the last explosion, or the second explosion, which it also deals 40% of the original damage, which in this case is 39,000 damage. And this one takes up 100 range. In total, she would do 309,996 damage if all of her attacks land on one side. If all of the attacks land, the unit will deal over triple their original damage. This causes a dangerously high attack stat and area for Dr. Nova, so timing against her is important. But also, unlike Soractes, she is well designed. She can be compared a lot more to Zero Luza than Soractes. Honestly, this truly is a good boss. 5 stars. Professor Owlbrowly is a variant of Owlbrow, and is the first trait to repeat, and the first dual-traded enemy being black and floating. He's introduced in Subchapter 17, On Guard Shrine. That's a really good name, actually. And a random fact, in a previous video, I called him 713, because I thought that was his name, but it was just a placeholder name, because he wasn't released in the English version at that time. But okay, time for his actual stats now. He has 200,000 HP and 42,000 damage, resulting in 8,811 damage per second. He also has 360 range, and as you can guess, Omni Strike. This Omni Strike goes from minus 300 to 440. He also has a really good freeze ability, being guaranteed for 4 seconds. This essentially makes it so each fishman can really only hit him once. I would say that a well-timed Bomber Cat could probably cripple him, but I need to remember the Sage debuff resistances. Honestly though, there's really nothing cool or special about him, just kind of a better version of Owlbrow with grab control. For our final enemy, we have Shachiko. He is another Relic and Sage enemy, being a variant of Dolphina. He's introduced in Subchapter 18, Forest Playground. For stats, he has a whopping 1.1 million HP and 12,000 damage, resulting in 3,495 DPS. For some Dolphina stat variants that you would want, he has 40 speed and 30 knockbacks. For range, he has 190, but also has a long range attack from 250 to 550. But so far, Shachiko is pretty similar to Dolphina, but kind of a combination of Kid Tappa too, which is the alien variant, who is more of a tanker. What Shachiko differs in, however, is his curse ability that is guaranteed for 6 seconds. I do also believe that this curse has full uptime too. I could be wrong though. But overall, I like this enemy as kind of a mix of the other two Dolphinas as a bouncy tanker. But for all I know, that's just what the regular Dolphina is, and I'm just stupid. Well, that's all the Sage enemies in the game as of 14.2. Well, now that we've got all 11 covered, I personally think that Sages are doing pretty good. I mean, we've got one not really the greatest boss, and one actually good boss, and more good enemies than bad ones. I personally think that Sages are going to do really good in the future. Hey, I might even make a part 3 when more Sage enemies come out. It might be a while though, as we just got 14.2. If this pattern keeps going and we get one per update, I'd be able to make another one by 14.7, which would take a while. But, well, what are your opinions on Sage? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Are you a person that is stuck on Zero Luza and just wants to see Sages very badly? But whatever the case, tell me. I actually want to hear your opinions. I suppose I must go now, though. But please, if you want it, you should subscribe or even just like, because these videos are harder to make than just regular gameplay videos. Well, goodbye now.